wrestling gimmick, an augmentation of one's personality, turning average Joes into colourful superstars and colourful superstars into era-defining idols. The iconography of pro wrestling history is lined not with accomplished technicians and dedicated competence, but larger-than-life personae that ring out vividly to a generation of onlookers. They are the true essence of the wrestling world, the most necessary flavour. As the wheels of wrestling continue to spin toward the future, new characters are churned out. Not all are guaranteed to succeed, and in fact some become famous for all the wrong reasons. Others are much more fortunate, resonating on a deeper level with the viewing world and cementing the performer's place in the contemporary product. And if a gimmick is great enough, it comes to define those in the role as a legend of the industry. Looking back over the previous 10 years, we here at Cultaholic, with a little help from our friends, considered the greatest gimmicks to grace the squared circle in that span. And to the best of our collective ability, we voted on the greatest of the great, the top gimmicks in all of wrestling for the 2010s. But before we get there, a few honourable mentions. Chris Jericho's Alpha/Painmaker, PCO, LIJ, both Yes Movement and Pro-Environment Daniel Bryan, and Elias. Without any further ado, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and these are the 10 greatest gimmicks of the 2010s. Join us! Number 10, Finn Balor's Demon King. Mick Foley didn't quite corner the market on multiple personality disorder as a wrestling device, but to be fair, Balor's application of body paint is a little different than suddenly donning tie-dye. Going back to his time as Prince Devitt, Balor coated his face, arms, and torso with elaborate designs, some comic book oriented, in order to psych out his opponents. Being that Balor is also a destructive king from Celtic mythology, upon bringing the body paint to WWE in 2014, the gimmick became more supernaturally based. But what is this Demon King we sometimes see? Is it Finn unleashing some sort of dark side contra to his usually joyful demeanour? When the paint goes on, Balor becomes almost impossible to defeat, a coat of invincibility brushed onto his skin. The simple sound of the demon heartbeat blaring over an arena sound system whips crowds into a frenzy, because they know that some heel is on the verge of having the entirety of hell unleashed upon them. So much of the Demon Balor character remains a curious mystery, but the mystery and execution do wonders for one's imagination. Number 9, Shinsuke Nakamura, King of Strong Style. About 8 months before the turn of the decade, Nakamura turned heel and immediately headed up the brand new Chaos faction in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He'd been a top champion and a headliner previously, but this was a new Nakamura, one whose crisp, form-perfect in-ring style was now enhanced by flamboyance and grandeur of the highest order. Suddenly, Nakamura was Muhammad Ali meets Michael Jackson, a consummate showman whose sheer presence and mystic charisma enthralled crowds. But the flashy entrances, eclectic mannerisms, and kingly aura took nothing away from Nakamura's work. He became deadlier than ever between the ropes, crowning his effective moveset with the Bomb-IA knee strike. This version of Nakamura served copious amounts of sizzle with a larger cut of steak, able to elevate the IWGP Intercontinental title toward near parity with the heavyweight gold. The King of Strong Style became an event unto himself, exhibiting exactly the type of high-volume flash that a main event wrestler requires, while sacrificing none of the physicality that earned him main event residence to begin with. Number 8, The Fiend. For the previous 5 years or so, fans had been counting the ways in which WWE took the unconventional brilliance of backwoods cult leader Bray Wyatt and strained all the life and intrigue out of him. Bad feud after bad feud, bad idea after stale idea, Wyatt was squeezed dry and definitely needed a new coat of paint. When the husky ex-champion re-emerged on WWE programming as a borderline satanic kids show host, fans held their breath, but they were curious nonetheless. The Firefly Funhouse vignettes were suddenly the most compelling part of Monday Night Raw, with the little Easter eggs and the unsettling content representing something far outside the norm. It all paid off with the revelation of Wyatt's masked alter ego, the Fiend, a more dangerous version of Wyatt that struck the unsuspecting amid blood-red darkness. While there have been hiccups on this path, hell in a cell, the Fiend is an exercise in how to rehab a tired character into something closer to the lost potential from some time ago, while also quite possibly improving upon the original idea. Number 7, MJF Better Than You, and you know it. If you look up the word punchable in the dictionary, you'll find a smug mug of Maxwell Jacob Friedman peering back at you. Even in print form, he'll tell you how useless and ineffective you are. There are many wrestlers today who walk that same path of being a contemptible dick for the sheer sake of it, but MJF is simply on another level compared to everyone else. At just 23 years of age, he's been compared to Roddy Piper, and with each passing promo, there are fewer people who would scoff at that. What makes the cruelty and snottiness even more effective is the fact that MJF never lets his guard down. In this social media age where the portrayers show themselves a little more when they're not on the clock, here's MJF, fat shaming, ugly shaming, pet shaming, and existence shaming during his downtime for all the world to witness. Even at his young age, the man is a walking masterclass in how to be a superbly potent villain in pro wrestling, and he has many years ahead of him in which to reap the rewards of his stellar work. Number 6, The New Day. When Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Xavier Woods first began extolling the virtues of positivity in 2014, fans couldn't have reached for the remote fast enough. Happy for the sake of happy without a tangible reason, this New Day seemed doomed upon its arrival. Little did anyone realise that about 6 months later, the trio would become the freshest thing on all of WWE programming. All the company had to do was let the three use their real voices and it would all work itself out. The heel turn, the trombones, the faux sincerity, the clever taunts, the catchphrases, the colourful merchandise, they went from faces who everybody hated to heels you couldn't get enough of. They were quietly turned backface in 2016 because the fans couldn't stop cheering for them. Instead of embodying something out of WWE's hackneyed playbook of tired ideas, the New Day became something that clearly found the pulse of pop culture, connecting with fans through their genuine personalities and wit. Numerous tag team title reigns and even a Kingston WWE title run later, the real positivity is in knowing when to let the performers create the magic. Number 5, The Shield. If you tell the audience that somebody's a top guy, and you put your energy and faith into affirming that notion, they'll believe it too. In the years before Survivor Series 2012, WWE Developmental spit out lots of good bodies that clearly lack seasoning, and skillful workers that may have been too small for the boss to sustain interest in. When Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns stormed the ring at the 2012 Survivor Series, they were collectively a different animal. The Shield, as they became known, had a purpose from day one: to dispense justice, however brutally and swiftly. There were no fake smiles, no cheesy promos, no stumbling at the line. These were three deathly serious men who won all their matches, kicking ass in a way that fans could take interest in. Better yet, each of the three had distinct personalities. Ambrose was the disturbed sociopath, Rollins the calculating tactician, and Reigns the understated muscle. There was nothing uncool about the trio when they rode as one. Through the portrayal and the propensity for winning, they all became top guys. Number 4, Becky Lynch, The Man. Through booking that was designed to make her a bitter heel, Becky Lynch, in combining her existing fan support with a new outspoken personality, made the SmackDown Women's title the talk of the wrestling industry. Through the years, WWE has had the benefit of falling arse first into the occasional happy accident, and their decision to do something with Becky Lynch didn't work out exactly the way they had intended. Here, that ultimately proved to be a good thing. Lynch's increased fieriness, her sharpened focus on reaching the pinnacle of the WWE Women's Wrestling mountain, and her ability to dispense the ultimate put-down on anybody who dared try her on social media gave the company what it desired most: an unapologetic brass ring grabber who understands how to make yourself famous in the digital age. No cheerful smile, no put-on graciousness toward her bosses, just verbal and physical beatings for whoever crossed her path. When put in these terms, it sounds like such a simple character, but it takes lots of gusto to make it work like Lynch has. That's why she's the man. Number 3, Bullet Club. 6.5 years ago, Prince Devitt's heel turn led to him forming a faction of remorseless gaijins with Carl Anderson, Tama Tonga, and Bad Luck Fale. Though they figured to make a hefty impact on any and all rivals in New Japan, who would have guessed that Bullet Club would become this decade's answer to the New World Order, in both the co-opting of phrases and gestures, as well as the marketability of black and white t-shirts. In the many forms that Bullet Club has taken since 2013, the group has demonstrated coolness. Through the increase of New Japan's global reach this decade, the ever-changing stable from its early days to the AJ Styles era, to the Elite run, to the incumbency of Jay White, Bullet Club are just like the NWO, in that they're heels with appeal, the epitome of the cool bad guys whose aura of menace and danger prove irresistible to a large part of the audience. And when you can turn that kind of it factor into merchandise sales, you're doing something right. Number 2, Broken Matt Hardy. Sometimes you have to go out on a limb to find success. And in the case of aging veteran Matt Hardy, sometimes you have to go so far off that limb that you enter into a twisted dimension, which you then harvest for the sake of one of the most unlikely comebacks in wrestling history. The elder Hardy Boy was becoming a forgotten man in Impact Wrestling, feuding with his brother Jeff yet again, when going down in defeat, well, broke him. Enter Broken Matt, who existed as a front to explanation. The faux eloquent diction, the unusual vocabulary, the Machiavellian promises of massacre, and the physical chaos that followed could not be summed up by any previously agreed on standards. This was postmodernism run amok in pro wrestling, and Matt's apparent insanity was rewarded with increasing fan intrigue. Can it be destined for the WrestleCrap plumbing if 10,000 fans at Raw are shouting delete as the hit new fad? The Broken Universe is one of those things that, if it didn't exist, almost nobody could have invented it. Fortunately, Matt Hardy doesn't live in our boring world. Number 1, CM Punk, best in the world. Pro wrestling can be an escape, a convenient way to avoid reality by indulging in a real-life comic book filled with over-the-top heroes and villains, along with a dash of silliness. That idea doesn't exactly jive with the widespread appreciation of CM Punk, whose most well-received run in the business came when he sat down on the entrance stage one night and told it like it was. Punk didn't escape reality, he exposed it, and fans loved him for it. Punk set himself apart from the corporate leviathan that was WWE, challenging their business and their conventions with a daring sneer and an acidic tongue. Even when he began deifying himself as the best in the world, the unshakable confidence in his tone still resonated, the flesh and bone of a cartoon world where everybody else was happy to be painted in wide brushes. It's quite ironic that the best character of the past 10 years was just a regular guy capable of extraordinary things, using a public forum to speak his mind and echo the sentiments of a good many. When you're still remembered for your blistering words more than 9 years later, you hit your mark, and that's why microphone-wielding CM Punk remains the gold standard of modern wrestling characters.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.